Wow. A lot of people are starting to make me feel like the sky is falling and that we should all be ashamed if we are looking forward to Crackdown 3, the next big Xbox exclusive that is right around the corner of its release. Recently, a lot of gaming media sites were given the opportunity to play Crackdown 3 and release their impressions on the game. Now, while the results of these impressions, if I'm being kind, seem to be very mixed, and while some people loved what they saw and others seemed very irritated for a game being a direct sequel to a game that came out 10 years ago, or they're irritated that the game wasn't what they wanted in the next exclusive game from Xbox. Either way you cut it, the results were not what most developers want to see when their hard work is being displayed to the public for the first time. But I have a feeling this game is being judged by something that people are having a difficult time separating, which is this game really has two games within it, and that's the single player experience and the multiplayer experience. If you listen to some of the biggest critics of this game, a lot of them found the single player game to be very underwhelming, yet they found the multiplayer game to be very gratifying. And others found the single player game to be pretty fun and exactly what they wanted, but found the multiplayer underwhelming. It's almost like Crackdown 3 is a tale of two games, and people are having a very hard time splitting the two apart. I mean, the single player and multiplayer have different launchers on the Xbox. Now, is that the critics' fault, the developer's fault, or is it a mixture of the two? Well, I'm here to break down and explain why this is happening. The first reason this is happening is solely on the shoulders of Microsoft, who showed Crackdown far too early and also semi-showcased the full destruction of a city. It was awe-inspiring and almost out of this world, to the point when people saw the destruction, they instantly questioned if it was real. Now, as a person that has worked on development tools and understand how projects in tech industry can change on a dime, this was single-handedly one of the worst things Xbox could have done. They showed a very alpha build of a tech demo and tied that to a game that was nowhere near ready for launch. Now, I know this sounds terrible to say, but the golden rule in any industry is under-promise and over-deliver. Revealing that tech demo so far ahead of when it should have been seen is exactly the opposite of the golden rule. Because no matter how amazing the Wrecking Zone looks and how much of a tech marvel it is, everyone will have that pre-built alpha footage baked into their brains. So it's very hard, if not impossible, for people to replace that image of such a great demo with something they might find different. That's entirely on Microsoft for doing that, and Phil Spencer himself has said they made a mistake showcasing something that wasn't ready. And they're going to start fixing that problem and really start showing fans and critics and everybody their tech when it's ready to be shown, which is a great learning experience for Microsoft and Xbox. But now let's turn to the professional media sites that are supposed to go into something with no bias and not judge something for what they think it might be and review it for what it is. Now, while I understand saying something isn't good, or maybe they should have put more thought into a certain part of the game, or talk about how a mechanic isn't quite polished, but to criticize something because it's a direct sequel to something it's supposed to take its essence from is a little weird. I'm talking about the reviewers that didn't want to level up their agent to be powerful, or didn't like the single player because it had guys to shoot, but I wanted to feel godly without leveling up. I never heard about a game that people wanted to skip the build-up and just play the end of the game and go from there, or people being critical of a game because it feels like a direct sequel to a game before it, but with better graphics, lighting, guns, and overall gameplay. It felt like the people giving their review impressions of this game had a prejudgment of what they wanted this game to be or not be, and that's where the tale of two games comes into play. A lot of these people that got hands-on gameplay with the game seem to be stuck in this 4-year-old demo that was never promised for Crackdown 3. So they're not reviewing the game for what it is in front of them, but instead for what's never been done in a game before because of a pre-alpha demo. To me, that's a little weird that they can't separate themselves from that. The only person to blame for that are the people that aren't able to do that, not the developers, even though they did show it too early. That's the problem that has plagued this game's entire development cycle. The game has its foot in two different plans. One is the tech demonstration it could be with the destruction in the cloud, which it has in its multiplayer, but then in the single player, people still expect to have this destruction in 4-player co-op and a bunch of other things that weren't built for the single player. People aren't capable of seeing this game as two games. One is set with the heart and soul of Crackdown, which belongs in the single player. That's the game that a lot of hardcore Crackdown players wanted, and it's what they're going to get. Because no matter what you think, Crackdown does have an essence of what a Crackdown game should be. and they seem to have hit that out of the park. But then there's the multiplayer, which a lot of people have been looking forward to, especially with the destruction. Those people excited for that seem to be separate from the ones that want a single player experience. And that's all great, but you need to separate your critique because this game is truly split down the middle. And that's where the blame falls on both the developer and the reviewer, because the development of this game has been long listed with negative feedback, and that's on Xbox, which they've seemed to have gone back and corrected and also invest more money in the project to actually deliver a pretty good looking game. And the rest of the blame has to go on the other people reviewing this game because they can't seem to let go of something that was never promised or done in a game before. As for me, I have to say I'm extremely excited for Crackdown 3 because I'm a huge fan of the first game. It was one of those games that really caught me by surprise at how fun and unique it was. Most people found the game to be fun and kind of out of this world dumb, and that's the charm this game has to me. It's something to play with a friend and have a good time being almost a superhero. From what I've seen, this Crackdown 3 game is something that I always wanted in a sequel, an updated version with cool new mechanics, and just a good time blowing stuff up. But I want the game to have the same charm and essence that the first Crackdown always had, along with exotic guns, mowing down bad guys in different brutal ways. But when Phil Spencer said that was missing for a little while during the development of the game, it had me a little worried. But he continued to say this game turned a corner and now feels like a true Crackdown game, and they're almost unapologetic about how Crackdown it is, which makes me a happy gamer and a happy Crackdown fan because, hey, that's what I wanted. As for the multiplayer, I see it as a second game that I'll dive into and have a great time playing. Will it take the place of all the super competitive multiplayer games I play? No, it won't, unless they're keeping something under wraps we don't know about, but this part of the game seems like a fun time and something that tech geeks like me will enjoy. I want to be impressed with the cloud destruction that will happen as I drop buildings on my enemies, but the difference is I can separate myself from other people and judge the multiplayer and single player on different terms because they are fundamentally different. So it'd be foolish of me to be angry I can't drop entire buildings in the single player, or be angry I have to level up my agent to make him more powerful. A lot of the complaints for the game sound very petty and by people that don't want to actually play the game, but instead want to jump into the game at max level and destroy buildings and just do stupid things without ever building up to it. It's very weird to me, but I really want to know what you guys think about all this. Who do you think is to blame for the backlash? Are reviewers being nitpicky over weird things? Did Xbox dig themselves into a hole with the tech reveal? Are you excited for Crackdown 3? Or have these negative impressions impacted your judgment on the game? Go down below and let me know. And like always, hit that like and subscribe button. It means a lot to me and helps the channel out immensely. And please follow me on Twitter at Zalker87. I'm always around talking to everyone in the community and having a great time, discussing games, putting news articles up. It's always great to talk to you guys. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'm off to play more games. And remember, enjoy your gaming. Later.